But nevertheless, we've had a full program over the weekend. There's been small boats races and also 6 major regattas. And we joined the action on Saturday evening's first race, and that was the Norwich Union Challenge Cup for ladies, where Calpe ladies started out as firm favourites, but they were facing a much improved Med crew. And the starters hooter there, just signalling the start of the first of the races for the ladies. A very calm easterly wind throughout Saturday night, and certainly didn't cause too many problems for the crews. But there we have Med to the left of your screens, and the strong Calpe ladies just to the right of the picture, coming into full view now. Both crews pretty even at the start, though Calpe tried to make an early getaway. There we have a better close-up view of the Calpe girls. Grek, Joyce, Vela, Asopardi, and Cox by Aquilina. Very successful team. They've had 1 or 2 changes from last season, but they've managed to maintain their winning ways throughout most of the season, although Med is much improved, and they have won a regatta themselves previously in the season in an outrigger. But the Med ladies are now seem to be getting closer to this crew. But they'll still have to work hard at it, because these girls are very determined, and they're certainly showing that they are the top ladies in local rowing, as they have been doing now for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Med ladies there just behind the crew of Figueras, Natalie Wall, who's back in the frame and training with the Med ladies, Alves, Martinez. A much improved crew and the part of the Med ladies, and all credit to them for really closing the gap. It must be evident that they've been working extremely hard over the last couple of months. But here are the Calpe ladies now coming into the home straight, as it were, just past the harbour views to the right of the screens, and there's a Jib 5 in the picture now as they come in right into the North Mole. They've built up a commanding lead now and past the finishing line for the first win of Saturday night in a time of 6:37.77. Very good effort by the Calpe ladies. Med ladies making their way back to the clubhouse. Their time was 6:42.83. And the second race on Saturday night, the J. Galliano Challenge Cup, this one in outriggers, a distance of 2,000 meters. The previous race for the ladies was over 1 mile. But over here in the outriggers, which is a much lighter craft, and perhaps less brute force needed in this, both crews pretty close very early on. Of course, Calpe have been having the best of the season, and Med had yet to gain 1 win this season. But they were very determined on the night, and they had a very good race. Well, it was neck and neck all the way through, right to the end. Calpe here, the first crew nearest to the screens. The crew of Pryor, Cabezuto, Bensadon and Barbara, Cox by Andrew Perez. Med furthest away, building up perhaps a slight lead with Bensadon, Yates, Griffin, Haviland, Cox by Cheryl Alves. And some boats are getting there in front of the GBC boat, very kindly held by Tyrone Moreno on the night to cover the regatta. But they're still neck and neck there. And Med would just pip their rivals for the first time this season. The last few final efforts before getting to the finishing line. Indeed, these 2 first crews were to provide us with 2 excellent races, and Sunday's one was even better, and with a very close finish. Med's winning time 6:51.90 to Calpe's 6:53.68. So very little in it. And here are supporters from both clubs at the North Mole cheering their crews, their respective crews on. And the final race on Saturday night was the Barclays Cup for veterans in Yolas, over a shorter distance of 1,000 meters. Calpe had a very successful season with their veterans, winning all 3 regattas up until Saturday night. A Calpe crew of Russo, Vaughan, Teuma and Romero, ably coxed by E.F. Adamberry. But the Med crew had 1 change this time round, Johnny Gonzalez coming in at number 1, and perhaps he added the little bit of extra firepower that the Med crew needed. The rest of the crew, Collado, Noguera, Saez. And it was certainly neck and neck all the way. Some splendid pictures here of this race. It really was close all the way through, and really exciting to watch. going past Harbour Views now and coming into the final stretch at North Mole and just pipping Calpe on the line for the Med in a winning time of 3:42.32. Calpe in just behind in a time of 3:43.49. Barely just over a second's difference between the two crews. And there they are, exhausted after their efforts, before they make their way back to their clubhouses. And so on to Sunday's regattas. It's supposed to start at 11 in the morning, but there was a bit of a delay because some ships were coming in and out of the harbour. A little bit of difficulty in communications between Gara and the port department, but eventually everything was sorted out and the races went on smoothly. The first of these, the Festival Cup for second cruise, and there was one Med crew in this in lane 1. Lane 2 was the first of the Calpe crews, and in lane 3 another Calpe crew. The stronger of the two Calpe crews, made up of Alul, Randall, Grek and Allen and Cox by Aquilina, soon broke away from their other rivals, building up a very commanding lead, and there was really very little story in this race because they were really well in command right from the start to the finish. There's the second of the Calpe crews, and Med there in third place in the distance. But the Festival Cup there, as they go past the detached mole, was only going to have one winner. Calpe well in command, nice stroke rate, almost looking leisurely, having built such a great lead from very early on. Gives an idea here of the distance over their other rivals, even some of their own club mates, but certainly well in control. Festival Cup again, a distance over 2,000 meters, and here they are coming into the home straight. Spectators cheering them on there just in front of them. And they would come home, as they've done there now, in a winning time of 7:46.28. Second was the second Calpe crew in a time of 8:05.92, and third the Med in 8:21.74, over 20 seconds behind their other main rivals, so no points towards the Garbarino Trophy for the Med on this occasion. A position that again is well in hand for Calpe. They're enjoying a marvellous season, and they're also in a good commanding position for the Garbarino Trophy, which for the last 6 seasons has been held by the Med. So certainly lots of enjoyment being derived from these Calpe oarsmen and oarswomen in what's turning out for them to be something really wonderful. And so on to the Forestier Walker Challenge Cup for maidens, over a distance of 1 mile, the second of Sunday morning's races. This race is normally for oarsmen that have not won it previously, so at times I imagine that there's some difficulties in raising crews, but nevertheless 5 crews were entered initially for this race, 3 from Calpe and 2 from the Med, although the Med withdrew one at the final moment, so there was only 4 crews, and it was Med in lane 1 and Calpe in lanes 2, 4 and 5. But the Med crew here did give a good account of themselves, particularly in the first stages of the race. They were neck and neck with 2 of the Calpe crews, but soon Calpe took command once again, and they started breaking away, and you can see this happening now just in front of the detached mole. And here they're now well in command. Nearest to camera for the Calpe, and indeed the winning crew for the Forestier Walker Challenge Cup, Acris, Tanieto, Riso and Cumming, Cox by Bautista, and they were to gain one of the most prestigious trophies in local rowing. In fact, I had a closer look at it at the end during presentations, a trophy that is dated back to 1907. Obviously, those lads delighted with their win. Yet another win for Calpe on a very successful weekend for them. And there they are, extremely tired and shattered after their efforts, but being cheered on by their fans. A great run for them and for all their supporters. We can see some of them there on screen now. The final race on Sunday, with about an hour's delay, the Triai Challenge Cup, and definitely the best race of the weekend when the first crews met once again, this time over 2,000 meters in Yolas, and the Med crew built up an early lead, but Calpe tried to recover, and indeed they did on a couple of occasions, but they were still in second place right towards the end as they were approaching the North Mole. But amazingly, with the last 3 or 4 strokes of the race, Med were overhauled with a very determined effort by the Calpe crew. These 2 crews were the same ones that on Saturday night had competed for the J. Galliano Challenge Cup in outriggers. But the sea started to change quite drastically, a stronger levant building up, and it must have affected both crews as they approached the finishing line. Unfortunately, our boat was not able to get in line with the finish. But from the North Mole, it was clearly visible that Calpe had just pipped Med with the last 3 strokes of the race in a winning time of 7:12.13 to Med's 7:12.43. Barely 30 hundredths of a second in it. Just before the presentations on Sunday afternoon, I spoke to Liam Yates of the Med Rowing Club and Leslie Gregg, captain of the Calpe Rowing Club. Well, Liam, 1 apiece in terms of first crews this weekend. Yesterday was very close, and also today on the Yolas, but your impressions first in the outriggers race yesterday?
That's right, we're very pleased with the performance yesterday. We rowed quite calmly, quite collected, the whole crew. We are quite pleased with it, particularly because we'd been written off all season, especially by, I shouldn't say this, well, in the Gibraltar Chronicle, the obituary had been written about us before even the sports correspondent there having even spoken to us. So we're quite pleased that we've shown that it's not over and that we're still here. I'm sure Calpe will be racing us and we'll be beating them, hopefully in the future, quite a lot.
And also this morning it was neck and neck virtually to the finishing line in the Yolas. What have you got to say about that one?
Well, this morning was a very fast race because there was a really strong wind behind both our backs. Again, Calpe got off to a very fast start. We managed to pick them up, but in the end they were very powerful for us. And obviously the Yola was quite a big boat, and we paid for the efforts in the middle of the race, and they just took us in the last couple of strokes. It was a close race. It was very good.
Well, Leslie, you're enjoying a marvellous season, your club, but your impressions of the weekend's regattas overall?
Well, we've had some pretty close races this weekend. We won the majority of the races. 3 of the events were very, very closely contested. The singles sculls on Saturday morning, the Jimmy Galliano Trophy for outriggers, and the veterans race. They were all won by margins of just under a second or 1 point something of a second. This morning we also had another close race in the Triai, the International. We won that again by the most minimum of margins. But generally it's been a good weekend for us, although I'm disappointed with my first crew. I thought they should have performed much better than they did, but I can't say that it's unexpected. But generally pleased with the club's performance this week. Yeah.
But morale overall is still quite high and confident for the overall Garbarino Trophy, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, barring any major incidents, I mean, I think we've already won the Garbarino for the season. I mean, we won the majority of races, and hopefully, I think we should go on winning for the remainder of the season. I think we'll make a couple of changes for the next race, and hopefully we'll go even faster by then.
And so on to the presentations. Norwich Union Challenge Cup being presented to Stacey Gregg here of the Calpe Ladies, the winning crew of Joyce Vela Sopardi and coxed by Cairo Nakilina. The J. Galliano Challenge Cup for senior crews, Cox, Cheryl Alves there, and Med, Liam Yates, Griffin, Haviland and Stuart Bensadon. The Barclays Cup for veterans, for Med as well, Collado, Noguera, Saez and Gonzalez. The Forestier Walker for maidens, there it is, a splendid trophy with a lot of history behind it, and a fine win for the Calpe crew, Acris, Tanieto, Riso and Cumming, Cox Bautista, and Calpe's first crew with the Triai Challenge Cup, which was definitely the best race of the weekend.